Right. First things first. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Secondly, the title of the video and the thumbnail is completely redundant now because we're going to talk about something else. Breaking news after breaking news. Can people stop resigning tonight? Because I can't really keep up. We just had another two other people, senior people, resigning from Downing Street. It's all kicking off. The whole thing is collapsing, and I was going to talk about Priti Patel. I am going to talk about Priti Patel and Cressida, but first let's talk about what's happening in Downing Street. Welcome everyone on the live chat. I hope you are doing well. Well, if you haven't heard, we just had two more senior officials, the Chief of Staff, the Prime Minister Dan Rosenfield, and also Martin Reynolds, who's the Principal Private Secretary of his office in number 10. The two senior, the actual right-hand men of the Prime Minister, have also walked out. So this is not looking good. So in case, I'm going to give you the summary of what's been going on today. Overall, if you include everybody from parts of government, we've had 5 resignations if you include the Northern Ireland, First Minister of Northern Ireland. This is Dan Rosenfield, the Chief of Staff, who has just resigned, and there's a lot of reaction right now on Twitter. I can't even keep up really because a lot of us have been complaining about Boris Johnson's team and how the Prime Minister has to get rid of all these the ineffective and weirdos who've been problematic, but they have decided to resign before they got fired. So I'm going to talk about that. That's one problem, and that's the second one. Martin Reynolds, who's also just resigned about half an hour ago, and earlier today, this morning, we had Munira Mirza, who's the head of the policy unit. Yeah, I know, Downing Street had a policy unit. Who would have thought that they come up with policies? How did they mess it up this much? I have no idea. And this was after Munira, we had Jack Doyle, who was the Director of Communications. Basically, the 4 top figures in terms of the advisors to the Prime Minister have now resigned, and this is why the whole thing is collapsing. So let's go on. What are you thinking in live chat? Okay, the first comment I just saw is Desmond Swain for Prime Minister. Second one, Nigel Farage for Prime Minister. Brilliant. So it's the third comment. Everybody needs to join the Reform Party. So basically, I can sense a tone that a lot of people are just sick and tired. I understand that there will be a lot of people also watching this who are Tory loyalists who wouldn't like to hear these comments, and they still want to defend Boris Johnson. This is where I'm kind of worried. Firstly, my first concern is I am really worried, genuinely really worried, and I feel so sorry for the staffer in Downing Street who has to organise the leaving drinks. There's a lot of leaving drinks to organise. They need a much bigger suitcase to go to Co-op and Tesco to buy booze and cake and cheese. So that's that's my main worry. Whoever's going to be in charge of these leaving drinks, that's bad. Secondly, jokes aside, there is, again, I can see more comments. Someone saying Lord Frost for Prime Minister, Liz Truss for Prime Minister. The best one is from TCB since 73, who says, a Conservative for Prime Minister. That would be nice, wouldn't it? The main issue is, as I said, a lot of us have been complaining about Boris's team. I said it yesterday. I said he could save himself if he brings up the better people, remove the terrible people, and change policy direction. And over time, I could support him again. Well, today, in terms of the policy program over the last couple of days, we've had the Brexit Britain agenda being ditched in favour of net zero. So what are you thinking? Absolutely disgusting. High taxes. They're trying to find shortcuts to fix the cost of living and energy crisis. That's not going to help. And Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson are having a clash. That's not looking good. But the biggest thing was, I said, if they could do it like a proper PR exercise, remove the bad people or the people who are causing trouble, basically, that could work. Well, the exact opposite happened. If Boris Johnson and the people who are still in Downing Street were smart, they would have felt and they had known that these 4 people are going to leave. And what would have done if I were in charge, before they resign, I would have sacked them, and I would have said I sacked them. And then that would have come across as, I'm draining the swamp, or I'm doing a bit of a shake-up. But no, it's absolutely too late now. And because everybody's now going with the other narrative that the ship is sinking and everybody is completely trying to find the lifeboats, and there are no more lifeboats because they put all the alcohol on the lifeboats, and the booze is gone and the cheese is gone and the lifeboats are gone. So don't know where I'm going with this, but this is why there's a big problem right now with the lack of agenda. And let's go and see the instant reaction. Martin Smith says start fracking ASAP. That's what I said earlier. In terms of short-term and medium-term and long-term plan, if you want to fix the energy crisis, stop the green tax nonsense, the levy, and also stop trying to dominate the actual industry, energy markets, because you're creating all these monopolies. Actually allow the market to thrive so you could have smaller energy firms to compete with each other to bring down the prices, and mainly extract shale gas. It's now, obviously, with the technology that we have, it's a lot safer. It's actually completely safe now at this point. Put aside the socialists who keep obviously protesting against it. I don't care about that. Long term, stop building smaller and more affordable nuclear plants. I think that's the exact best way to actually do it. If you do large, there's a lot of problems with safety and also the price, the cost to it. But if you do smaller ones, manageable and more affordable, we could actually no longer be reliable. Like Germany, how it's obviously they're reliable, they have to be dependent on Russia. So that's one thing. Endoff says, how is it Tusi? Still keeping an eye on the clown world, I see. The last video I did before this was another clown world episode about how the civil service are still doing woke trainings. Don't get me started. There's a lot to say. I don't know. I can't keep up, guys. Just give me a minute. So, SHG says Downing Street has fallen. And Concerned Citizen says, let's go, Doris. Boris couldn't run a bath, let alone a country. Free falling says, I'm going to read a lot of your comments because you guys in the live chat always obviously leave questions. Actually, put questions as well so I could answer, because usually I don't have enough time to respond to every single comment. But I'm going to try my best to do it. Jim says, have all those leaving been caught on camera at the parties? That's the thing. I didn't actually think about that. I can imagine a lot of these people who resigned were going to be in the Met report. They're gonna get fined. So they're gonna jump before they're pushed, basically. So for those of you who just joined, as we said, we've had 4 senior figures, the top officials in Downing Street walking out tonight. The head of the policy unit, the director of communications, the chief of staff, the principal private secretary. Everyone's leaving basically at this point, and whoever's going to be left Downing Street leaving, don't forget to turn off the lights. We have a super chat from Lady 50ish. Thank you so much for the support, saying, so Boris Johnson goes, who replaces him? There are a few suitable options. That is, again, that's a good question, because, but on the other hand, we can't completely be pessimistic. I'm not advocating for anything at this point. I'm just going to be objective and just report, because I can't really tell what's going to happen. I'm not going to take sides in terms of saying, well, Boris should go and definitely Liz Truss to replace him, or Rishi Sunak to replace him, or Penny Mordaunt, or Jeremy Hunt. Or there are options, but it really depends on what happens, because if the ship completely goes down, everybody will go down with him in the cabinet. Liz Truss can't stand, because everybody would say, yo, you were part of the same team. Then on the other hand, we can't really have Rishi Sunak, because he was literally the second man in command. And although he's been very sneaky, he's trying to distance himself from number 10. Even today, he basically criticized Boris Johnson over the Jimmy Savile comments. Very, very sneaky. So not really sure. So there could be people, there are options, there are talents out there, junior ministers or outside the cabinet. But again, it really depends what happens. Technically, we don't know if Boris is going. Technically, we don't know. Whilst we know that the ship is sinking, the guy is resilient. He survived a lot of things, so he might just about survive. I don't know, but it's highly, highly unlikely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the next story before obviously we continue with this for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to be talking about these guys, not these guys, these guys. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to be basically, give me 1 minute. We're going to go to the next segment. I'll be back in the next 10 seconds. Well, that was definitely more than 10 seconds. I'm back. Basically, let's talk about Priti Patel and Cressida Dick and the Prime Minister. There's a big clash has been going on for a while now. Priti Patel and the Home Secretary tried to get rid of Cressida Dick a while ago, especially after what happened to Sarah Everard. And there were a lot of discussions inside the government to replace Cressida Dick and not renew her contract. On the other hand, the Prime Minister's team blocked it, and they ended up renewing the contract because they said, well, we're not going to be able to find a right replacement. Exactly the sort of conversation we just had us about the next leader. They had the same discussion about, well, who's going to replace Cressida, and a couple of options that they had. They were not happy with them, apparently. So Priti Patel lost that battle, and since then there have been tensions. So as we said, the Home Secretary did consider going through the recruitment process, but a civil service panel interviews candidates before recommending the candidate to her. But two sources familiar with the discussion said that Priti Patel was overruled by Downing Street, and the decision was taken to extend Cressida Dick's contract for another 2 years. This is what we are dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. If they can't really make proper decisions, then how do we expect them to actually run the country? Let's see what you think. Obviously, in the live chat, I'm going to go and see what you guys do. You think that there is still a possibility? Do you still want Cressida Dick to resign now? And do you think if there is a change in leadership, and if there is a sound Conservative in charge, could they replace her with somebody else, or are they going to wait for the next 2 years and then wait for her to retire, I guess, or just not renew the contract? Let's see. A lot of comments about Steve Baker. Steve Baker, Prime Minister. Maybe another one. Mark Lockwood saying, Steve Baker, please. Jason Burr says, that copper has destroyed this country. I agree. The Cressida Dick has made a lot of wrong decisions, a lot of wrong calls in terms of the leadership of the Met, whether it's on the political side of it, PR side of it, or just generally speaking in terms of the management of the police. I've got a couple of friends who are working in the Met, and they're definitely not happy with her, and also the senior team around her. It's not just really her. There's everybody else around her as well. Safa Boat says, Priti is a failure, and there's absolutely terrible leadership when it comes to the borders. That's true. I mean, between the three of them, I can't really pick one, because Priti Patel has not been great in terms of the border situation, and we expected her to at least be more transparent. But then in terms of what's going on with the Dover crisis, but what was it, last week, a few days ago, when the Home Office announced that they're going to actually hide the daily figures of the migrants illegally entering. That's the exact opposite of being transparent. And if Priti Patel wants to say that it's not just me, I've got a lot of obstacles to deal with, the civil servants in the Home Office, I agree. There are a lot of obstacles there. But either do something about it, or be vocal about it, complain, or resign in protest. Stop sitting there and allow everybody else to attack you if you genuinely think that it's not your fault. Either try and fix it, or be vocal, do a press conference, do an interview and say, these are the reasons we can't do it, and, blame the Prime Minister, I don't know. Or just resign in protest and then tell us exactly what's going on. That's why I can't really have any sympathy when it comes to Priti Patel. Boris Johnson himself, he's the sort of person that he needs to be, the maneuver should be done by other people. Pull the strings, either pull him towards the right or to the left. He's just a face. He's just obviously the figure to be a performer and win votes. He's not really contributing to the intellectual side of politics and government. That's why. Oh, we have someone saying, Tremont saying, Ian Duncan Smith for Prime Minister. Again? There are a lot of people who have been very supportive of IDS, because he's been very sound over the last few years, whether it's on China, whether it's on the lockdown situation. It's been quite interesting to see IDS actually becoming a leader. It took a while, but yeah, so this is what we're dealing with. I just wanted to kind of give you the update on the relationship between Cressida, Priti and Boris, but also of course the shambolic situation, the shambolic day that we had in number 10 Downing Street. I'm not really sure who's going to be left really by the end of the day working. I can see a lot of comments in the live chat in favor of David Frost, Lord Frost. He's actually one of those I still have faith in. I still really support him, and of course he's no longer in the government. But he's very vocal. He's writing articles, columns, and he's he's tweeting a lot. But we are in the middle of all this. We're still dealing with Ukraine and Russia. We're still dealing with the situation in Northern Ireland, and we can't really afford political gossip to take over. We have to have grown-ups running Downing Street, because who's going to trust us? Imagine going to the European Union and say, well, we just had a massive fight in Downing Street, but I'm here to discuss the Northern Ireland Protocol. They're not going to take you seriously. No one's going to take you seriously. We have to get our act together as a country and as a government. Otherwise, the whole thing is going to completely collapse. A couple of comments saying Donald Trump for Prime Minister. Donald Trump for Prime Minister. Brilliant. Although both Trump and Boris, I believe, Trump as well, were born in New York. So they're both American. So if Trump comes and becomes a British citizen, he could do it. Right. Enough nonsense. Okay, perfect. Just want to kind of do this quick live stream. I'm going to come back. It's Thursday today. I'm going to leave you guys in terms of live shows tomorrow. But for Saturday and Sunday, probably Sunday, I'll do a proper big live show for about an hour to answer all your questions. And I want to say massive thank you again. The fight back that we had on YouTube over the last few months, we are now winning. We're winning the game again. It's all thanks to you guys and all the support. Because I still get emails with you guys saying, Maya, thanks for all the shows, and I'm emailing my family and friends and neighbors your channel. Thank you. That's the best way we could do it. Word of mouth or word of emails. I don't know. But also don't go on Getter. If you have Getter, go on Getter and follow me on Getter, because we're trying to grow the base on Getter as well as Twitter, because one day they will kick us off Twitter, so we're gonna need to have a backup plan. So, but yeah, thanks again, guys, for everything you've done. If you're new to the channel, if you enjoyed the content, then feel free to subscribe, and also whether you're new or not, click on the bell next to it. That's the best way to get notified when I release videos. Otherwise, it still doesn't get very recommended, the videos anymore on YouTube. So that's the best way to do it. Thanks to you guys. Keep fighting the good fight. We are not going to give up. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and we are going to be winning. And we are now replacing the mainstream media because, well, we are the media. And thanks again. Good night. See you guys.